Good morning, Kyra Leroux.
Hi.
Welcome on Beach Berries.
Thank you.
You are one of the most talented performance dancer and actresses. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing really well. What about you?
I'm doing fantastic because on stage or on set, your movements are sharp, the rhythm is constantly on the rise, and Kyra Leroux is adding the cherry on top, and even better, the berries on top.
Wow. Thank you. What an
I would love
introduction.
I would love to discuss about that Leroux style that I just mentioned. How would you describe it?
Well, I work really hard at everything that I do. I'm kind of like a 100% or nothing kind of person. So everything that I do is um totally purposeful. I think it comes from growing up dancing and doing classical ballet growing up. You're really like instilled with a work ethic, I think. And that comes from my parents as well, I think. But I I think I've just worked really hard for what I have, and the results are starting to show. Hopefully, that will continue to happen. But yeah, I think that's kind of my motto, is just like working really hard and working smart too, not working yourself so hard that you crash and burn. But yeah, I think it's really from growing up in dance. And just that repetition of like practicing something every single day. I used to dance like 21 hours a week, competitively. And that was kind of my whole childhood. And I think it really instills in you, an excellent work ethic and just that feeling of never giving up. Of knowing that if you really work at something and you put your whole heart into it, that it is achievable.
If I understood correctly, Kyra Leroux, it is impossible by only having a commitment of 50% to catch up with the very fast rhythm of the music of Sia discography.
Yes, that's true.
You just mentioned the fact that you were preparing yourself and training for more than 21 hours, not per day, but per week.
Yeah, that was when I was growing up, dancing and stuff. I spent pretty much my whole childhood at the dance studio. And then as I started to get older, I stopped dancing full time and then transitioned more into acting and into musical theater. But in terms of like my more recent acting journey, I kind of spent all of quarantine like laying low and really focusing on my craft and my work, because when stuff opened back up after or once COVID wasn't quite as bad, once things in Vancouver started opening back up, I was just ready to hit the ground running. Like I was so excited and prepared, I think, to really start working. And I was really excited to do that. And that was my goal all throughout quarantine, was just to be ready when the opportunities came.
And ready Kyra Leroux was. What would you say was the first moment that you knew that dance was something important to your heart?
That's a good question. I mean, my mom grew up dancing. She was a dancer and still is. I actually went to tap class with her last night. Yeah, so it's something that we continue to do and continue to love. And I don't dance quite as much anymore. But I still consider dance my first love. But yeah, I don't really remember, to be honest, because my mom put me in dance when I was like 2, 3. Like I was in my little little kid slippers, like dancing around before I can even remember. So dance has just always been a part of my life. since I was really little, ever since I can remember. But I've always loved it. Yeah, dance and musical theater too. My mom put me in dance because she was a dancer, but when I was really little, I would perform for my family. I would put on little shows. I was so talkative and had all this energy and was so outgoing, and my mom was like, "What do we do with this child?" So she won't stop talking. So she put me in musical theater, and that was the other thing that I just loved and still love. I think being on Broadway is still one of my biggest dreams. But yeah, so I do have memories from when I was little of being up on stage and just living my best life and being so happy. But I don't remember the moment when I knew, because I was so little. It's just always been true for me. It's just always been a part of my life, which I'm so grateful for.
Well, this is very simple. The key point to do something with this kid is to send Kyra Leroux to play Pippi Longstocking.
Yes, that was my very first role in this kind of crime mystery comedy show called Psych that filmed here. My dad took me to set. I remember that day. And it was just this little scene where I stood there. I remember such weird things about it. Like, I remember my mom French braided my hair. I always wore my hair in French braids when I was little. My mom French braided my hair all nice because she knew it was like Pippi Longstockings was the role. So she French braided my hair before I went to set, not knowing that like I would go through hair and makeup, which to me now is just such a normal thing. But, you know, when I was 7, I think I was, like, you know, my parents like had no idea, and neither did I, what it would be or what it would entail, or that would be kind of the start of my journey even. So yeah, I remember I sat down in the chair for hair and makeup, and the the hairdresser or whoever it was like started taking out my French braids, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, my mom did my French braids. But yeah, I just think back to those kind of memories of like that very first day on set that I remember. Yeah, I look back on that so fondly.
This is kind of the same as me years ago, bringing all the school books in the first day of school. All true, we don't need them.
Exactly.
This very special comedy series in which you debuted on year 2009 was a sort of eureka moment for the decade that would come and for the question of the what if.
Yes.
I went on this path.
Yes, what if is such a big question. Yeah, when I was in grade 12, I was deciding what to do with my life, as everybody, I think, finishing high school does. It was 2019, then 2020, the school year. And this was before COVID. I was deciding, like, should I, go to university for, like, the sciences or something? Should I, move to Toronto to pursue musical theater, or should I stay here and, keep pursuing TV and film and acting? And I ultimately decided to take a gap year to focus on TV and film, because I was like, you know what? Like, I only have the one life to live. This is my passion. I know this is what I love to do. And if I don't answer the question of what if I give it my all, what if I do this, I really try and really do it, I'll spend the rest of my life wondering what would have happened if I had gone for it. And I'm so glad I did, because I've been working since then, since the world opened back up. after COVID. It's just kind of become my life. And yeah, so I'm so grateful for that decision that I made.
And Kyra Leroux, this also includes the fact of putting some pressure on your shoulders. For example, when it comes to Broadway.
Yes. Yeah, no, that is definitely a big dream of mine. I think singing and dancing will always have a place in my heart. I mean, that's my three biggest loves: acting, singing, and dancing. When I get to marry the three of those together in musical theater or even on film, like that is when I'm at my best, and when I'm the happiest is when I'm doing all three of those things together. So I would love to do a series or a movie or whatever it is on TV or film, where I get to sing, dance, and act. I think that would be amazing. And one day I'll make it to Broadway. One day.
I have absolutely no doubt that Kyra Leroux, you're going to make it in Broadway. And I am very curious about that gap year that you took. What was the days and weeks and 12 plus months of Kyra Leroux during that time?
Yeah, well, I mean, I had no idea what I was in for when I made that decision to take my gap year. I made that choice, like, I would say probably January of 2020. And I mean, we had no idea. Like, we had no idea what was going to happen. I certainly didn't. I told myself when I made that decision, okay, best case scenario is I book a few things and, you know, my career keeps progressing. That's my dream. But if I book one thing, if I book one project, the year will have been worth it. And then I told myself the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is I would book nothing at all. I would work really hard still, but I would realize, you know, this actually isn't for me. Like, I don't like auditioning all the time and working so hard when, you know, because so little of your time spent as an actor is actually spent on set. Most of it is auditioning and, you know, working on your own. Like, there are so many other sides of being an actor that people don't really tell you about. So anyway, worst case scenario was I would give it my best shot, not really see any results, not book anything, realize that it wasn't really for me. What I thought was going to happen is I'd book one thing, you know, maybe two, and I would love it. And I would just keep working really hard, you know, maybe go to university for it. Like that I would have been happy with, to just book one or two things, and have a great experience doing those things. What ended up happening is obviously COVID hit. So I graduated high school in COVID, and got straight into acting class over Zoom, 2 classes a week, every week, reading scripts, writing, practicing, rehearsing, doing everything that I could pretty much, to get ready for when the world opened back up. And the world opened back up and I booked my first project and I was like, okay, there's my year, you know, like I did it. And then I booked another one and then I booked another one. And just kept working and working and working. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is what I'm supposed to do. So yeah, it's kind of the best case scenario of my little gap year.
And 2 years after, you're on VH Berries.
And now I'm on VH Berries. What more could I ask for?
And best case scenario, someone in a series ask me, who wanna play football for the Bulldogs? And then I take off my mask and I reveal my name to the entire world.
I'm Britta. Is that cool?
Can you tell us a little bit more about these exceptional experiences?
Yeah, Riverdale has just been an amazing experience. I've actually been on the show for over a year now, which is so crazy to say. When I first booked the role, it was the second. So I had just done Schmigadoon, which is an Apple TV show that I did. I know you love the way I say it, Schmigadoon. It is a very silly name. But I get this audition, and it comes through, and it was a Wednesday evening that I get this audition request, and the audition was due on Friday, and I happened to be on set for that show, Schmigadoon, Thursday and Friday. So I get this breakdown, and it's like a tall girl with a wide smile, Britta. It was 2 scenes, and each scene had 1 line. Very short. So I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm on set the next 2 days for Schmigadoon. Like I have no time. Like I have to just do this right now. So I called my boyfriend. I'm like, come over. I have a self-tape. We have to do it right now because I can't do it. Like I didn't have any other time to do it. So I literally looked at the script, memorized my lines quickly. I did the audition with my first initial instinct of this character. And afterwards I was like, you know what? Like tall, I'm 5'3". They want like an tall, athletic looking girl who actually just looks like a model. Whatever. So I sent in the audition, not thinking anything of it. I went on set, had an amazing time doing Schmigadoon, and 3 weeks later, 3 weeks, that's a long time to wait, I had completely forgotten about it, and my agent called me and was like, you're on hold. And I was like, oh, okay. And then a week later, I found out that I got the part. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I guess it just goes to show, like, when you, sometimes it works like that too. Like when you're already working and when you're like, oh, like, I'm never going to book a role like this, or they don't want me. And so you just let go of all of like the expectations of everybody else. And you just follow your own initial instinct, or you just do it the way that you want to do it because you're not as concerned with, how the casting directors want to see you, or how you think they want this role to be, because you're like, I'm not going to book it anyway. So you just do it. And sometimes that is like the key to booking something, is like you just do it the way that you know how to do it, or the way that you would do it as yourself, without worrying about, how you think they want the role to be. Yeah. And that can be your ticket, which it was for me. But yeah, then I did my first episode. I was so scared. I was like, little, I was 19, I think. I don't know, was I 18 when I started Riverdale? Yeah, actually. And I'm going to be 20 in a month. That's crazy. So I was 18. I was like, this is a huge show. I used to watch the show. I collected Archie comics when I was little. Like I have 30 in my room right now, just all lined up, a whole bunch of editions. It used to be me and my dad's thing. We would he collects comic books as well, and so we would like write down all like the serial numbers of like all the comics that I had, and we'd go to the comic store and we'd try to find the ones that I didn't have, and that was like a thing that we would do together. But anyway, so just like this show that like I knew and that I had watched and that I was a fan of, and all of a sudden like I was there, I was like, oh my gosh, this is it felt almost meant to be, like, yeah, in kind of a crazy way. But I thought that I was only going to be in 1 episode or 2, maybe 2, because that's what they told me when I booked the role. They said 1 episode, maybe 2. I thought I would just have, my football storyline and that would be it. But after my 2 episodes that I did, the first 2, where, you know, we played football, all this stuff, I was really prepared before I went on set. I was really enthusiastic. I tried my best to just, you know, be myself and show up and just do the best that I absolutely could. And I guess they recognized that, and they've been bringing me back ever since. And my role on the show has really grown. And yeah, it's like a family over there. I could not be more grateful to show up somewhere that I feel like I could not be more grateful to show up somewhere where it feels like it doesn't even feel like going to work, you know, like it feels like I'm just showing up to do what I love to do, which is, I mean, literally what more could I ask for?
You got the ticket, Kyra Leroux, and this is now part of family. And I really am very inspired by this philosophy of I have nothing to lose.
Totally.
And I'm just doing it my way.
Yeah. Yeah, just owning, I think that's a big part of it too. Like, there are so many actors out there who, you know, are like, what can I do? Like, you know, how do I get my first booking, or how do I get an agent, or how do I do this or do that? And it's so hard. Because it feels like every time you're auditioning, it's so easy to feel like you're putting yourself on the line. And it really is a vulnerable thing, like to constantly feel like, you're either being rejected or constantly feel like you're being put on trial almost for this thing that you love to do. But honestly, like, owning yourself and, just seriously being you and not trying to be anything else other than you, is what will take you far, because it's the only thing that separates you from everybody else. You know, why would you do something that you think, or why would you play a character that in a way that, like, you think other people want to see? Like, why wouldn't you just do it the way that you want to do it? Because that's what's going to make it pop. That's what's going to be interesting. Because it's you. You are interesting, not your idea of what it should be. So yeah, it took me a long time to learn that, but and I'm still working on it. Gosh, every day. It's not like something you can turn off and turn on, I don't think. It's but I do think that it's really valuable to keep in mind, at least for me. Yeah, even if it's hard sometimes.
It is valuable, Kyra Leroux. And one side of Brita Beach that would never be a subject of being vulnerable is her fashion and clothes, her style, and her wardrobes worn on set. That is actually a topic of conversation at the epicenter of our modern society.
Yes, fashion, it's so important. I love it. Yeah, it's so cool. I love fashion. If you know me, you know that most of my clothes come from the thrift store. I love, seriously, I love going to the thrift store, going to the vintage store, and just hunting for things, like, and giving them new life. I love it. I think it's so cool. I think fashion is just such an interesting way to kind of express who we are. An important way, I think, to express ourselves. Yeah, and it just, like, I feel different depending on the clothes that I wear. And I think that ties into my characters that I play as well. Depending on what I am wearing, depending on what shoes I'm in, you know, what shoes this character chooses to walk in every day of their lives, how they hold themselves. Yeah, that's part of what I do that fascinates me. I mean, so many things about acting and about film just fascinate me, but that is definitely one of them. Of just like the clothes that we choose to wear, and the way that we choose to present ourselves, really, to the world is what it's about.
This is what it's all about. I was more mentioning Britta Beach than Kyra Leroux, but of course it can apply to you. And today is a beautiful first day. How would you describe your outfits and the shoes you are in?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So in terms of Britta, like that's so interesting about acting is just how like literally everything that applies to acting also applies to life, and that's part of what I love about it. So if I'm talking about, you know, Britta and her fashion and the way that she presents herself to the world, I mean, it's also kind of talking about me too. Not that there isn't a separation between, you know, the characters that I play and me, because there definitely is, but just so many of the things that apply when you're acting and when you're playing a character just apply in terms of real life. But I always get so excited when I go for my fittings for Riverdale, just to see what they have me in and what I get to try on and what I get to wear. And it's been cool to see her fashion kind of evolve too. Like in my beginning episodes, it was, you know, super tomboy. Like I had my Doc Marten boots, which I still always wear as Britta and also as myself. I'm a huge fan of Doc Marten boots. I was actually just wearing some boots today, but anyway. Lots of plaid and stuff. But as Britta moved in with Cheryl, it kind of got a little more like, I feel like girly is like the wrong way to like say it, but got a little more edgy, I guess, some more skirts, some more fun, kind of out there pieces, which is really exciting. She kind of, it's definitely still very Britta vibes, but with a little bit of Cheryl sprinkled in there, which is really fun. So it's been cool to see her fashion kind of evolve throughout the season as Britta's been living with Cheryl on how Cheryl has kind of influenced Britta's wardrobe decisions.
Absolutely, and the reception by the audiences of Riverdale has been very great. And next to this very inspiring project, you are also going to be involved on the upcoming season of Firefly Lane. I don't know if you can say much about it, but
I don't think I can say much about it. It's in the books, but I don't know if I'm allowed to announce anything or say anything about that yet. So I'm gonna have to keep my cards close to my chest here, and when the time comes, I will shout it from the rooftops and talk all about how amazing it's been. But that time is not now, is not yet, unfortunately. Even though I would love to just spew it all out.
You have to keep your cards close to your chest, but you will only focus on Schmugdoom and the G team.
Yes. Those, oh my gosh, the J team especially was just like some of the most fun I've ever had on set. Like being with that group of people, being with JoJo, being with like, we just had so much fun together, and like the dance and like the energy, and just knowing that you're making something that really spreads a good message to kids. Like the movie is all about just being who you are and accepting yourself for your own uniqueness and differences, and just being the beauty that is you. What better message to relay to kids than that, I think. So it was just really cool when we were making that to feel like, wow, like this is really gonna impact people, I think. Like, I think JoJo is so great at spreading that message, and so good at employing that in her real life too, of accepting people for who they are. But knowing the audience that she has, and that so many little kids really look up to her, it was really cool to be a part of that and to like experience that in whatever way. Yeah, it was really awesome.
And Kyra Leroux, I think that we are underestimating the level of effort when it comes to the synchronized dance performances. For example, in the J show, to be able to put the berries on top, you have to practice a lot.
Yeah, so we went through we went through a month of rehearsals for the J team and a month of shooting. So we spent an equal amount of time practicing all of the dance numbers than we did actually shooting the movie, which tells you a lot about how much effort it takes. Yeah, we were practicing all the time, but having so much fun while we were doing it. Like, just the whole thing was seriously a blast. And for me to kind of get back to my dancing roots was worth it in itself. Like, it was just so much fun.
In definitive, it is maybe time to write the first chapter of your memoir that we can maybe call, Please, Young Kyra, send that audition.
Yeah, right? Do it. Just do it. Seriously. Yeah. I don't know if I'd ever write a book, or a memoir or whatever. But if I have any advice, it's definitely that, to just literally be yourself, believe that you can do it, and you will. Like, literally just go for it, because you have nothing to lose.
That's a beautiful advice and pieces of advice. Kyra Leroux, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Victor, for having me. We had so much fun.